Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to the video. I'm actually getting around to doing my end of the year wrap up videos. Normally I either forget about it completely or it's January and I start thinking about doing it then. So this is kind of a new leaf for me, which is interesting. And I thought I would start it off by going over two projects, what I would consider failures. The first one is kind of an honorable mention more than anything else, because I think this project failed mostly because of COVID. I mean, things were shut down for so long this spring that it just didn't have a chance. But that is also part of its problem, in the sense that if you don't have the ability to do regular maintenance on something like this, the water level drops sufficiently that air simply does not have the ability to lift the water high enough for this to continue to function. I mean, this style of above tank filter would work perfectly fine off a pump. So even if the water dropped 4 inches, the water pump would still pump up enough that this would still run fine, and it wouldn't be as big an issue. Of course, 3 months is probably still going to cause issues for that as well. But at least it would run longer, and it would have a better chance at it. Actually, the other filter that's on this tank is one of my leak-proof canister filters, and the pump is actually in the bottom of the tank that runs it, and it worked perfectly fine through all that. So again, it is being compared to obviously higher quality things. And this is just, like I said, an honorable mention. I've built a number of these over the last few years, especially, well, mostly like at the end of, before all this stuff happened, like before the end of 2019, that sort of stuff. I had built a few of them, and I had put them on a number of clients' tanks, and a number of them I actually just never got back to seeing because they went out of business or didn't reopen, let's say, after COVID. So I'm not really sure how they did, but I suspect they all ended up like this. This particular tank now has a different filter style on it, which is kind of cool because I like trying new things out. And I do have a number of clients that are quite willing to let me, pretty much put whatever I want on the tank as long as the tank looks nice and clear and clean and everything. So being able to experiment with these sorts of things is really a big benefit. But anyway, none of those filters are now up and running. I've stopped using above tank air driven systems for my clients. They are not good enough. They just simply don't have that consistency of flow and filtration to keep a nice stable tank. And the only one I actually use in the shop anymore is the 5-stage airlift, and it seems to be the anomaly. It just seems to work really well, and I obviously can't use that for clients anyway, but it's the only one I still use. I mean, obviously you've seen my videos and you know what I'm using a lot now, and there are much better filters than these. I still run an awful lot of air-driven systems for clients, but they're all in-tank ones, and I find they are much more reliable, and obviously you've seen some of the videos for that as well. They are much better. So this is, like I said, just the honorable mention for the worst. The actual worst DIY project that I had this year was picked because it was the biggest disappointment of all the things I had put together this year. I had put a lot of work into it, and I don't normally do that for projects unless I think it has a reasonable chance of success. And it did not live up to anything that I had hoped it would be. And that build was the rainforest build. As you can see, there are 4 chambers here. I had to drill and put them all together. I made the spray bar system to put equal amounts of water to all of them. And like I said, it was a fair amount of effort. If I had thought when I first started putting this together that it was going to turn out the way it did, or at least not be as good as I thought it might be, I would have made 1 chamber, or maybe at most 2, but I had really thought that this was going to do so well. I went to all the trouble of putting 4 of them together, and in the end, I only actually ever put plants in 2 of them. And you're going to see by the end here, I'm going to show you some clips of what they look like and what it looks like now. I still actually haven't taken this out of the tank. It is still sitting there. It doesn't have anything in it. It's not running at all. I've actually used the pump for something else. And like I said, it was just one of those projects that It turned out to be, as I think I said in the video when I put this up, uh, too much of a good thing. I mean, the high humidity planters are amazing. I really like how they work. And even the paludarium with the water splashing down the back is doing really well. This system, for some reason, it's just too much water. And I've tried putting aquatic plants in this, and they didn't work. And since I've taken this apart, I've took those plants out and I put them actually in aquariums where they're obviously completely submerged, and they are doing much better. There's just something about this setup that just didn't work. So it is definitely my worst DIY project, and in essence, it doesn't really matter that much because I really like building things, and if you don't try stuff and fail at certain things like this thing here, you'll never end up putting together stuff that you really end up liking. Like again, the high humidity planter filters. What I'm going to do as we get close to the end of the year, I am going to start doing some of the projects I really like. As you can tell, one of them is going to be in there for sure. But I also going to want to cover some other stuff, some things that I did that aren't necessarily big projects, but things I actually use a lot. And that is actually a big thing when it comes to DIY projects. If I build something and I really like it, but it just sits on the shelf because it doesn't really have much in the way of functional use. I mean, I have a few of those projects too. It's something that deserves to be in the best of kind of thing. The ones I actually end up using a lot, those ones are the ones I really, really end up liking. And there are some very simple things I put together that fit in that category. So hopefully we'll get to those as well. Now, one of the other things I want to cover as this year wraps up is I have just crossed 13,000 subscribers. And the first thing I want to say here is thank you very much for everyone who watches what I do. And I am going to have an end of the year giveaway. Probably the last video of the year is going to be a giveaway. There'll be plenty of opportunities for you guys to get in on it. Well, not in this video, please, because this is for something else. But keep watching, and I will announce it, and I am going to do a build and send that off to somebody, and we'll figure all that out as we go along. So, like I said, I just wanted to start off these showing you DIY, like I said, doesn't always work out. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't do DIY because, like I said, you end up with some really interesting ideas that don't pan out, and the ones that do pan out just makes them look all that much more interesting to you. So, as I said, the end of this video is going to be clips of this as it progressed, and we're going to get to those next, and we'll see how this actually ended up looking. See how it started off looking so nice and pristine and clean and everything, and it just went downhill. And here's what it looked like as it was getting near the end. It was not at all clean and pristine as it was, and as you can see, this is the Anubias. The new leaves are kind of yellowish, and all the leaves on both this and the Cryptocarine, we're getting a fair amount of algae on them. I don't mind algae growing on the acrylic itself because that's reasonably easy to clean. And the other thing I didn't care for, well, I'm doing this one-handed, of course. It was difficult to get this out that way, and I probably shouldn't even bother trying. As it will happen here in a few seconds, I'll just stop doing this and do it with two hands, and it's much easier that way. But I mean, that is an awful lot of algae on there, and it's, like I said, it's fine, I suppose. But I was expecting so much more out of this. I wanted it to grow better. You can see there's a lot of roots there, but I have since taken that plant and put it in an aquarium, and this one as well, and they're doing really well in there, and that should just say it all right there. And as I said, I'm going to show you one final clip of this near the end. Actually, the end for it is just going to be it sitting there looking rather sad and empty, and I will take it all apart and hopefully recycle most of that acrylic, but like I said, this is just a big disappointment. So anyway, I wanted to show you that they don't always work out, so I'm going to start off with the worst, and hopefully we'll work our way up to the better ones. And as always, if you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe and leave me lots of comments and let me know what you think. And this is what it looks like now. It's not running at all, and I am going to, hopefully early in the new year, take this down and use this space for something better. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.